Okay, so let's get right into it. We're talking about a modern jetliner, a really experienced crew, and a flight that ended in absolute tragedy on a perfectly clear night. So, picture this. It's December 20th, 1995. You've got American Airlines Flight 965, a state-of-the-art Boeing 757. The skies are totally clear as they're heading into Cali, Colombia. And here's the kicker. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the plane. And that, right there, is the central mystery we're going to unpack. How does a perfectly safe plane, flown by a competent, experienced crew, fly directly into a mountain? I mean, it's the kind of thing you think just can't happen, right? But it has a long, tragic history.
Yeah, there's actually a name for this kind of disaster. It's called Controlled Flight into Terrain, or CFIT, and those first two words are the really chilling part. Controlled flight. It means the plane is working perfectly. The pilots are in complete control. They just have no idea they're flying straight into the ground. It's unintentional, but it's completely under their control.
And listen, this isn't some one-in-a-million thing. Since the jet age really kicked off, these CFIT accidents have claimed over 9,000 lives. 9,000! It's been this persistent, deadly problem in aviation for decades.
So how does this actually happen? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we're going to walk through the final minutes of American Airlines Flight 965. It's a tough story. Out of 163 people on board, only 4 made it out alive.
All right, so the flight leaves Miami 2 hours behind schedule. Right away, you know the crew is feeling the pressure to make up time. Now the captain, he's no rookie. He'd flown into Cali 13 times. As they get close, air traffic control gives him an option. Hey, you can take a more direct, straight-in approach to runway 19, a real-time saver.
And you can just hear the pressure in the first officer's voice on the cockpit recording. He says, "Yeah, we'll have to scramble to get down. We can do it." They take the bait. They accept this higher workload, all because they want to claw back some of that 2-hour delay.
Okay, so to fly this new short pack, they had to tell the plane where to go. They needed to program it into the Flight Management System, the FMS. You can just think of it as a super advanced GPS for a jetliner. And the specific spot they needed to aim for was a waypoint called Rozo.
But they were in a hurry, right? They were scrambling, so instead of typing out the full name ROZO, they just typed in the letter R. Now, on their paper charts, R was the shorthand for Rozo. Seemed logical.
And this is where it all goes wrong. The computer gives them a list of waypoints that start with R. And the very first one on that list, they just select it. But it wasn't Rozo. It was a totally different navigation beacon called Romeo, 150 miles away, way off to the northeast near Bogota.
And with that one single click, the autopilot did exactly what it was told. It started this slow, gentle, fatal turn. The pilots thought they were heading straight for the airport, but in reality, they were now flying away from it, heading right into a dark valley in the Andes Mountains. They had completely lost what pilots call situational awareness.
So you see, this is the really critical takeaway. This whole disaster wasn't about one single huge mistake. The investigation found it was a cascade, a chain reaction of a bunch of small, seemingly minor errors that just happened to line up in the worst possible way.
Let's break down that chain. First, you've got the pressure to be on time, which made them accept an approach they weren't really ready for. Second, that tiny data entry error, R instead of ROZO. Third, as the plane turned, they got confused about where they were, but they kept ascending anyway. And finally, number 4, to get down fast, they'd used the speed brakes, but in all the chaos, they completely forgot to pull them back in.
Suddenly, the alarm goes off. The ground proximity warning system starts screaming, "Terrain, terrain, pull up," but it gave them only about 13 seconds. They reacted instantly, slamming the throttles to full power, pulling back on the yoke, but those speed brakes were still out. It was like trying to outrun a bear while dragging an anchor. The plane just couldn't climb fast enough.
Okay, so here's where the story gets even more interesting, and frankly, a little disturbing. The thing about the Cali crash is that none of the mistakes were new. A major NASA study after the accident looked at thousands of pilot reports and found that these same exact problems were happening over and over and over again.
And what this NASA study proved is something safety experts call the Swiss cheese model. Major accidents rarely happen because of one big failure. It's usually a bunch of little things, little holes in the system that just happen to align perfectly. Each one on its own isn't a disaster, but when they line up, that's when you get a catastrophe.
I mean, when NASA dug into all these confidential reports from pilots, the warning signs were flashing red. The exact same ingredients from Flight 965 were all there. pilots getting confused by the automation, mixing up waypoints, making data entry mistakes, and feeling rushed on approach. It was a known problem.
But the tragic loss of all those people on Flight 965 was not for nothing. It really became the wake-up call the industry needed. It was the catalyst for a huge leap forward in safety, a new technology designed to break that chain of errors once and for all.
So you remember that old warning system, the GPWS? It was totally reactive. It was basically just looking straight down with a radar, so by the time it screamed terrain, you were already in huge trouble, like we saw in Cali. The solution had to be proactive, not reactive. And that new system is called TAWS, the Terrain Awareness and Warning System. This was a total game changer. Instead of just looking down, TAWS uses GPS and a massive 3D map of the entire planet to look ahead of the plane. It paints a picture for the pilots of the terrain in front of them, and it can give them a warning minutes ahead of time, not just seconds.
And the result? It was immediate. It was dramatic. As soon as TAWS became required on commercial planes all over the world, the number of these CFIT accidents just plummeted. This one piece of technology has basically wiped out this entire category of disaster. It saved, without a doubt, thousands of lives.
You know, the story of Flight 965 is such a powerful lesson. It shows us how a chain of small, very human mistakes can overcome even the most sophisticated technology. But it's also a story of hope, right? It proves that we can learn from even the most awful tragedies to build something safer. And it leaves you wondering, what are the hidden dangers out there right now, the ones we're just learning to see before they turn into the next tragedy?